is going on, everyone? You're all very welcome to the Gaelic Gridiron podcast. On the Monday of the biggest, perhaps, NFL game in history, if you are an Irish NFL fan, Steelers Vikings coming to Croke Park this Sunday, and we will talk about that at length in just a few minutes' time. Thank you, first of all, to all of our new and returning listeners, wherever you are watching or listening. Thanks for being with us. Thanks as well to our sponsors, Print My Pint. If you're looking for something cool for your next corporate event, wedding, or birthday party, check them out at printmypint.ie. Sound bunch of lads, and we could not do it without them. Jimmy English, Connor Tate, and Stephen Kearns. Lads, game week is here. We've been talking about it. We've been hyping it up. It is finally happening. How are we feeling? Two wins for our teams last night, yesterday evening. Steelers and Vikings both getting wins. So both coming in with a similar record, 2-1. Myself and Twist, we're going to be there. We're going to be in Dublin all weekend. Connor, unfortunately, you're not coming across because of inflation, really, and the cost of living. But you'll still be able to watch the game. What are your thoughts, Connor? How are you feeling?
I'm very excited, and I was actually more excited for the Minnesota game this weekend, which was against the Bengals, than I was the prior weekend, which was the Falcons. And that was because Carson Wentz was starting at quarterback as opposed to JJ McCarthy. Nothing against JJ McCarthy, but to have a savvy veteran in there with the players that we have at the moment, I think it's a blessing in disguise that it's now Carson Wentz instead of JJ McCarthy. Thus far, I am very excited to see how Carson Wentz does against, who's the Pittsburgh quarterback again? Can't remember his name.
Just someone called Aaron Rodgers, just future Hall of Famer Aaron Rodgers.
But I think that's going to be a really interesting battle of two savvy veterans in Dublin. The fans are going to be in for a show.
Carson Wentz had a great game yesterday. I was watching the highlights back this morning. I mean, he was dropping bombs, dropping dimes, kind of throwing it back, playing mistake-free football. Twist, you have to kind of admire, our opponents this weekend. They played a really good game, and obviously it was against, a backup quarterback in Jay Browning. But Isaiah Rodgers was on fire. I mean, 3 turnovers. He had that pick 6 to start things off, a strip 6, fumble recovery for a touchdown, and another forced fumble. So the Vikings are going to be worthy foes in Croke Park this weekend when they do roll into town.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the two games back, like, side by side, you have the Vikings who won convincingly and the Steelers who basically got lucky. Like, our defense did help, but, like, the Patriots outperformed us in every stat. Like, yards gained in the air, on the ground, rushing, first downs, everything. They completely controlled every possible stat of the game, except they had more fumbles than we did.
They made more mistakes, and we capitalized on those mistakes, really.
Barely. Like, we had 3 fumble recoveries that turned into nothing. And, like, it was only the 4th one that we scored on. So we did get lucky. Our defense did show up. Cam Hayward had a sack. TJ Watt finally got a sack, got on the board again. So the defense starting to look a little bit better. But with Carson Wentz back there, who's got the experience, as Connor mentioned, our secondary is still in tatters. Like, it's not great. So I think it's going to be a long day for Steelers fans in Croke Park if JJ, Jets gets running free. Like, who's going to cover him on the Steelers side of the ball? It's going to have to be double, possibly triple coverage because our defense is that banged up. We can't trust one single man to cover JJ.
I certainly wouldn't trust Darius Slay or Jalen Ramsey, perhaps, but I think Darius Slay, of course, had a great fumble recovery there, an opportunistic recovery against the Patriots, but I just don't think himself or Brandon Eccles have the wheels to be covering the best receiver in the league. So Connor, you could be seeing JJ Jettis scoring a lot of touchdowns on Sunday. I think if there's a few things that kind of stood out to me that the Steelers need to improve on if they are to have success in Croke Park this weekend. I mean, obviously Derek Harmon had a sack. Fantastic to see him finally get into the lineup. Really talented first round draft pick for the Steelers. He had his first sack. But the Steelers could not get off the field in 3rd down or 4th down. I think the Patriots converted 4 out of 4 4th downs. I mean, big 3rd downs where the Steelers just could not finish them off. And I think those are things, Connor, that Carson Wentz is going to be able to capitalize on with the weapons that he has, particularly the likes of his receivers and Jordan Mason, who has stepped up in the absence of the injured.
Aaron Jones.
Exactly, Aaron Jones, who's another starter who'll miss out on this trip to Dublin.
Jordan Mason was who I was about to bring up. Jordan Mason, I think, will have a big day. And if you listen to Kevin O'Connell when he does his post game, and you listen to the Vikings coaching staff, Justin Jefferson receives coverages and looks that no other receiver in the NFL gets. So if I had to guess, you're going to get Jalen Ramsey on an island with him manned up, and you're going to have a bracket safety over the top. Basically, in layman's terms, they're going to double team him for the entirety of the game. Unlikely Justin Jefferson's going to be singled up at any point in Dublin. That frees up the holes for other receivers to get one-on-ones, as well as Jordan Mason in the run game. So I think Jordan Mason, who's coming off a very, very good game, 2 touchdowns and over 100 yards on the ground, I think he's going to have a big, big day for Minnesota. Stephen, you said that Minnesota won convincingly. I'd just like to point this out because it doesn't happen too often. Minnesota actually dealt Cincinnati their largest defeat in franchise history. So I would say that's a bit more than convincing.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't happen very often.
Say
but I
that.
just
Say
had
that
to
without
throw that in.
a big shit-eating grin on your face there.
I didn't. I honestly, nobody saw this coming, and it was one of those weird days. But who would have thought that Carson Wentz coming into the game was going to deal Cincinnati their biggest defeat? I'll say it again, in franchise history. That is nuts, and that is in no due part. Obviously, can we forget about Isaiah Rodgers, who actually received PFF's highest ever grade in history today for his performance? It was, and he did it all in one half.
Yeah,
It wasn't even a full game. He did it all in the first half. It was, yeah, come on, keep asking me questions about Minnesota.
He scored more touchdowns on defense than some teams did on Sunday.
Yeah.
Like, that was a wild performance by him. And
it was historic.
Do you think now Carson Wentz? So obviously, Carson Wentz is in a unique position now because we have seen what Kevin McCarthy can do with kind of quarterbacks who are looking for a second chance. I mean, Kirk Cousins went there after Washington. Obviously, it hasn't really worked out the way he would have liked in Atlanta, and maybe he was just past his kind of best. Carson Wentz is kind of at that stage now where he's an older quarterback, but he is a savvy veteran. Do you think that Carson Wentz now can kind of parlay this opportunity into a starting role somewhere else next year? Connor, I'll go to you first, and then I see Twist there, but I want to get Connor's thoughts first as a fan.
Yes.
On a quarterback.
Yes. If he plays the entire season, the argument is if Carson Wentz goes 3-0 and Minnesota, they've won the last game. If they go to Dublin, they go to London, this little road trip they're on, they win both those games, and Carson Wentz plays them both, they win them both. They have a bye week, and then JJ McCarthy will be healthy. And Minnesota welcome Philadelphia into US Bank Stadium. Do you really bring JJ McCarthy back in? It's like, hey kiddo, let's go. No. God, so if Carson Wentz and the Vikings go 12-5, 11-6, win a playoff game, and he has a great renaissance of a season, of course he gets a job somewhere else. There's so many quarterback needy teams. And Sam Darnold got the gig, and he didn't do well at all down the stretch. So, yes, absolutely, there's an opportunity there for Carson Wentz. Absolutely.
Even if he only wins 2 or 3 games and then it's back to JJ McCarthy, they pull the trigger on McCarthy and just bench Wentz for the rest of the season, he'll still get a position elsewhere because people will have enough tape. 2 or 3 games in the NFL is all it takes is to get enough tape for people to go, you know what, he still has it. We'll bring him in.
Especially as a bridge quarterback somewhere. Yeah. A team that drafts a quarterback, bring Carson Wentz in and then play him for like 4 games like Russell Wilson's going to get before he gets pulled. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of Russell Wilson, the chance of Jackson Dart last night, for like Giants fans, like screaming out his name, and it's like, not much longer. Not much longer.
No, he did everything possible to kind of lose that game for the Giants, didn't he?
Yeah.
Russell Wilson's ship sailed when he sailed that ball through the goalposts on 4th and 10. That's a cardinal sin. If you throw, I'm saying this now, not all interceptions are weighted equally. If you throw an interception on 4th and goal, it is what it is. You give your guy a chance, right? So that. I would love to ask Russ what happened, why he threw that ball.
But did you see that?
Sure. Yeah.
Did you see that entire sequence? Like the first down was intentional grounding into the tunnel, and then a 3-yard scramble, and then like a complete moon ball out of bounds, and then the 4th and goal was like a moon ball into the upright.
It's funny if you watch the actual highlight package the NFL put together of that, because they get down to about the 3 yard line and then suddenly it just jumps and they're on about the 20 and there's no explanation. And
Yeah.
you're just like, what in the Giants is after happening here? They don't explain it too well in the highlight package, but yeah, that was a mess. That was a mess. And Jackson Dart, my prediction before the season was week 4. We'd see
He
Jackson
could be
Dart.
on track.
Yep.
I think I might be pretty
He could
close.
be on track. I mean, that it's bad news for the Giants, but obviously really good news for the Chiefs, who got a much needed win and avoided going 0-3 and a complete disaster. Still not as good as they would have liked to have been. Obviously, a lot of things to clean up, but they go into M&T Bank Stadium to take on the Ravens and the late slate of games on Sunday, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. Some other kind of wild finishes that I kind of want to talk about, because there was a point at about, I suppose, 9 o'clock, 9 last night, where Red Zone went to a triple box, and it was absolute carnage because you had 3 games coming right down to the wire. You had the Browns, you had the Packers turn it over on downs and give the Browns a chance to kick a field goal, which they did. So the Browns knocked off the Packers somehow, some way, and then lost their absolute shit and started running around like they won a Super Bowl. So that was kind of the first domino to fall. Then you had the Eagles and Rams. So the Eagles bullied the Rams all game long until about the third quarter, when they just had enough and came back. And then they had a blocked field goal for a touchdown by Jordan Davis, big man touchdown. That was fantastic to watch. And then the Bucs and the Jets, that was just absolute carnage. I mean, Connor, kind of break down that finish for us. I mean, just how insane was that finish?
I thought that triple box was the perfect moment to go to one of their new commercials on Red Zone. That would have been really nice. But yeah, it was insane. I before this week, I thought the Rams. I was fairly confident that the Rams would take care of the Eagles, because I haven't been overly impressed with how the Eagles have gone about winning their opening games, and I have been impressed with LA, and their defense is really good. And for 3 quarters, my money was safe. And then the Eagles came running back, and that's why sports betting companies make so much money, because I was so correct and so close, yet I lost all my money had I put a bet on. And then I thought Aaron Glenn Todd Bowles, the Bucks head coach, summed it up perfectly, because they asked him in his post game, "What were your thoughts when you saw the kid running the other way for the Jets?" And there was too many expletives. I can go watch the clip if you want to see it. But he surmised it perfectly. And then you've just got this dog on the other side in Baker Mayfield who's unfazed. And I'm so happy for Baker Mayfield and the way he's playing. I mean, he plays with his heart on his sleeve. He really does. And
it just shows great resilience, though, Twist, as well, from the Buccaneers kicker.
If Minnesota don't go and win the whole thing, I kind of want the Bucks and Baker Mayfield to win it. Honestly, it was great. It was. And then the Browns. Thank you to the Browns for knocking off the Packers. That was a crazy 21-second sequence with their block, and then the kid who missed the 30-something yarder in week 1, stroked over a 55-yarder. So
for the Buccaneers kicker, though, Twist, that just shows great resilience, because to have that field goal blocked in return for a touchdown, then to drive back the field and absolutely drain one. I mean, that's the way that the Buccaneers have been winning games, is through just sheer grit and determination. So, like, they're a lot of kind of close wins, but they can't really play by the seat of their pants the rest of the season. They're going to have to start stacking up some kind of real wins as well, and convincing wins.
No, I think like the kicker, missed, hit the block in the return. But when you have Baker Mayfield as your quarterback, he's going to pull you aside. He's going to be in your ear, forget it, I'm going to go out there. And go out there and watch Baker Mayfield go his way down the field to get you back, to give you that chance. You're going to make sure you drill that thing and you don't miss it, because I guarantee if he hadn't missed that, it wouldn't be Baker being annoyed. It would just be, I'm disappointed. And you don't want Baker being disappointed in you. That's the type of character he is. I've always been a big fan of Baker, and I'm still disappointed the Steelers didn't throw their hat in the ring when he was leaving Cleveland. Because he is that gutsy type of quarterback. He's the type of quarterback that would be perfect in terms of his gut and his determination for the Steelers. But wild weekend of finishes, the Browns scoring all 13 points in the last quarter, and then acting like they won the Super Bowl. Browns love having these little games that they they lord over their fan bases.
It's the biggest win they're going to get all season is beating the Packers, so they're going to have to enjoy it while they can.
But I'm just like, well, if you can't make it to the dance, I mean, you got to hold on to something,
Yeah.
you know. So I suppose these games that, you know, but like other like things, like other resurgences we're seeing, like
The Bears.
Marcus Mariota coming in for the Commanders and resurgent, like Indiana Jones, Daniel Jones still out there slinging it, and then yes, of course, you know, the Bears putting the kibosh on them boys.
Daniel Jones had a lot of help, though, I feel like, from Jonathan Taylor, who kind of burst back onto the scene with he went for plus 100 yards and 3 touchdowns. So the Colts, I mean, he hasn't put a foot wrong yet, in, you know, insofar as the first 3 weeks of the season. And that AFC South is going to come down to the Colts and the Jaguars, really, because the Texans had a terrible game yesterday.
But like, yeah, he had the help of a like, you know, Jonathan Taylor, but like, look at the Eagles. Like, you know, Jalen Hurts doesn't have to do much when he's got Saquon Barkley there.
They're the quarterback that doesn't have help.
Yeah. So I'm like, I don't want to take it away from like Indiana Jones. Like, I'm sorry, that's his name, but like, he's out there, he's resurgent, and I guarantee you, the Giants are like, what did we do wrong? I'll tell you what you do wrong. Your system is terrible. So I really hope Jackson Dart has a better chance in New York, because it could be a case where like the Giants are just getting these good generational quarterbacks and just ruining them, or, you know, holding on to them for a couple of years and then sending them off somewhere else and then seeing them, you know, perform much better. And that could be a wake-up call if it happens again with Dart, that they need to change their whole system for quarterbacks. But yeah.
Twist has an interesting point there, Connor. Actually, I want to just talk about that a little bit more, because you know, Daniel Jones isn't the first quarterback to be thrown into the limelight, into a starting role, thrust in, and then to struggle really badly and regress and almost ruin his career. I mean, you look at Baker Mayfield in Cleveland. Look what he had to go through to win back a starting job and to succeed. He went through Carolina, he went through Los Angeles, and now he's in Tampa Bay as a starting quarterback, and arguably one of the best quarterbacks in the league in terms of, you know, intangibles and moxie. And yes, this is a Baker Mayfield fanboy club on this podcast. We're going to have a Baker Mayfield slot or section every podcast we do this season. But like, even look at Bryce Young in Carolina. Okay, they won against the Falcons, but that's not really saying a lot. You know, he's dipped so much, and he came back a little bit last year. But you have to wonder, is the NFL and teams, are they just destroying young quarterbacks' confidence by taking them straight out of college, not giving them time to acclimate? I mean, look at Aaron Rodgers. He sat behind Brett Favre for 4 seasons before he went in, and now he's a Hall of Fame bound. You look at Ben Roethlisberger sat, Tom Brady sat, I'm not sure. Mahomes sat behind Alex Smith for years. So, I mean, why not? What's
Jordan Love?
What changed where we went from it almost been a de facto situation where young quarterbacks sat if you had a veteran? Is it just a case where teams want to win now? Is it all about that kind of instant gratification, or is it what's kind of changed in your opinion?
Social media.
Yeah.
How much has social media evolved from the early 2000s to now? This podcast probably wouldn't exist back in 2002, but here we are on every single platform available: Spotify, YouTube, whatever. Bytes on Instagram. It's so out there, and a byproduct of that is the draft is now so big, right? And everybody tunes into the draft, and all everybody cares about is the top 10 picks and where the quarterbacks go at the start. So if you draft a young kid, you have to put him in straight away. Otherwise, what are you doing? Why are you holding him back? Maybe he could be better than this kid.
The media.
The media. So the pressure is on owners and head coaches and GMs to thrust the quarterback in straight away, because he could be the next great thing. And the reality is that the NFL is just so hard, because it is the best of the best of the best, that adjustment for 99% of people takes time. And now quarterbacks, due to the evolution of social media, this is my theory behind it, and how big the draft has got, have been given less and less and less time to perform.
And less leeway.
Way less leeway. Look at JJ McCarthy. He's the perfect example, and he sat for a year. Now, by coincidence, by bad luck rather, with his knee injury.
But that's another point, is the quarterbacks are going in, all these young players are going in, and their bodies aren't ready because A, they're not getting enough time in the preseason, or B, their conditioning isn't right. And like you said, it's such a massive step up from college to the NFL, and it's a much faster game. It's a much more physical game. And like that's another factor to consider is, you get a bad injury, you could be the number one draft pick, about to sign a contract for millions and millions, and your future's on the line. You blow your knee out.
He finished Monday night in Chicago. He was the guy. He then had a baby boy on Thursday. Missed practice. No, I'm serious. This was JJ McCarthy's 6 days, right? He was the greatest thing since sliced bread for the Minnesota Vikings on Monday. He had a baby on Thursday, and then he came and was woeful against the Atlanta Falcons. And now everyone is calling for Carson Wentz to play the rest of the season.
Yeah.
That was in the space of 6 days. He went from hero to having a baby boy to zero within 6 days. That's the reality of the modern NFL at the quarterback position. It is as cutthroat a business as there is out there in the world. And that's why everyone watches it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's dead. Connor definitely has a point. It's the instant gratification. It's the social media. Like an owner, he's not going to be looking. He may or may not be looking at social media himself, but they're going to be on there. They're going to be looking up the hashtags for their team, and they're going to see angry fans going, "If so and so doesn't start this week, I'm not going to start showing up to games." And once fans start saying, like, "I'm sick of this. I want this to change. I'm not buying any more merch. I'm not going to the games. Why should I buy tickets?" They don't care if the quarterback is ready. They're going to go lean on the head coach and lean on the team. Like, put this guy in. Like, and he's not ready. Don't care. Put him in. The fans want him.
Is Jackson Dart good?
I mean,
we have no idea.
I have no idea.
But the pressure's on to put him in.
Yeah.
Right?
He's the new shiny toy.
Exactly.
In New York.
You mean I think I might have seen him play twice in college for Ole Miss. That's about it.
Yeah, he's the new shiny toy.
On a complete side note to this, I just wanted to mention Daniel Jones again, because I don't know how many people are actually watching Indianapolis Colts football at the moment, or maybe they're just seeing the box score because they haven't been in any primetime games. It's been playing at 12 o'clock when the sun's shining. But he looks really, really good. He's not just winning the games, and their schedule has been fairly straightforward so far, but he looks poised in the pocket. Daniel Jones looks good.
He's got his pocket presence has gone from like next to nothing in New York to like elite level. He's not making mistakes. He's making smart throws. He's throwing the ball away when needed, whereas in New York he force it. He just looks like a completely different player.
Yeah,
like his attitude has changed. His like confidence has skyrocketed. He's playing clean football.
You'd love to see it.
Yeah,
delighted. Really delighted.
Daniel Jones is a bit of a unicorn because he made $160 million in one night in Minneapolis in the playoffs a few years ago.
Yeah.
Right? That's where Daniel Jones made all his money. They came off a mediocre season where they snuck into the playoffs and then went and beat a higher seeded Vikings team, which they shouldn't have, but they played great on the day. And then they got blown out by Philly the next week. But that's what won the contract. But Daniel Jones looks like the guy who earned that contract. He looks better than back then.
He does.
He looks like a complete quarterback right now.
It's the thing is, like, he could, like, I've got $160 million. I can just be a backup, like, and sit and ride the bench out for the rest of my career. It shows the character of the person because he doesn't need to play football again for the rest of his life if he didn't want to. But he's out there competing. He wants to be the starter. He wants to take the calls as far as he can take them. And by the looks of his play, they're going at least to, like, the wild card. At the very least, the way they're playing.
They're going to host a playoff game. They're going to win the division, right? Who's going to win the South?
Yeah, actually, they will actually. I think they're going to win the division. Actually, I correct myself. Yeah, they're going to host the playoff game.
He looks a lot better than Trevor Lawrence, I think, so far this season. The organization as a whole there in Indianapolis, I think, was just waiting for one good signal caller to come in and kind of bring things together. Anthony Richardson, you feel bad for him, but I mean, his time will come once he. Again, there's another example of what we were just talking about: is a rookie quarterback coming in, with not limited production in college, but he was playing in a very simplified system in Miami, and he comes into an NFL franchise. He's handed the keys, and then, he made mistakes. He was a rookie. The talent is there. He just needs to sit and learn for a while.
If Daniel Jones wins the division and takes the Colts to even the divisional, Anthony Richardson's getting traded in the offseason.
Yeah, I think so. let's look ahead now to the upcoming games. Obviously, Monday Night Football tonight. We are recording on Monday ahead of that game. Ravens Lions in M&T Bank Stadium. Ravens are 6-1 all time against the Lions. This is going to be a real test for both sides. I think more so. I think for the Lions because they haven't really faced real competition yet this season. Twist, who do you like in this one?
Ravens. I'm sticking with my like
Ravens Packers Super Bowl.
Yeah, but it's also I'm sticking with the Lions are not the Lions that we've seen the past 2 seasons. I'm still sticking with the line that their window to the Super Bowl is completely closed or just open a fraction of a crack. Like this is it. If they can go out and convincingly beat the Ravens, they might have some life in them. But this is their big test to prove that they still have what it takes to hang with the powerhouses in the AFC, and they need to go out there and put a convincing win to stop the naysayers because there's a lot of doubt around there since they cleaned house with like the coordinators have gone elsewhere. Like fans, experts, and all are questioning: Are they the Lions? Are they able to do what they done last
both
season?
coordinators went on to head coaching jobs. That speaks a lot about Dan Campbell's capabilities as a leader and what that organization has completely turned around since. I mean, the Lions were a joke before Dan Campbell came in. 2 rough seasons to start off, and then they've been contenders in the NFC ever since. So,
but I think they're going back to being rough seasons. I don't think they're really a contender anymore unless they can start putting the hammer down on these top teams, like especially the Ravens. They need to go out there and convincingly beat the Ravens.
Connor, will this be a defining game for the Lions? Do you think will this kind of set the course for how their season is going to go after week 4? I mean, they have a job to do on offense and on defense in terms of consistency. I mean, you've one of the most potent offenses in the Ravens with Lamar Jackson slinging that ball and all the weapons they have, and then Lions obviously have a great offense, but the Ravens have a fantastic defense. So it's going to be a really, really interesting game.
Yeah, I think you can really see the Lions are feeling the effect of losing both those coordinators. I mean, they only scored about 50 points last weekend, so you can really see the effect. But yeah, I'll go with I will go with Baltimore. But I'll say this: the loser tonight will be the best 1 and 2 team in the NFL, and I wouldn't really read too much into the score in week 3. I don't think you lose this game, you're suddenly way, way behind in any way, shape, or form. If the Lions do lose tonight, Packers and Vikings are both 2-1, and they're 1 and 2. They're not far off. And Baltimore with their AFC North division, Pittsburgh aren't lighting it up.
No,
Cleveland
far
aren't
from
lighting it up. And Cincinnati certainly aren't lighting it up after their largest defeat in franchise history at the weekend. So, yeah, I'll take Baltimore, but I don't think there's as much. Watch the game; it's going to be a great game, but I don't think it's a defining moment for either team's season.
I think the NFC North is going to be really, really interesting if the Lions do somehow pull off the win in this one because the Packers lost at the weekend to the Browns. The Cowboys, the Bears hammered the Cowboys. I don't know where that kind of performance came from. I mean, obviously, the Cowboys defense banged up, but that doesn't really take away, I don't think, from the performance that Caleb Williams and the Bears had in Chicago. And then the Vikings, Vikings are still up there, but like it shifts the kind of the power dynamic in the NFC North a little bit, I think. And speaking of the Vikings, obviously a massive, massive game in Dublin this weekend. Vikings and Steelers in Croke Park at 2:30 Irish time, 9:30 US time, and it's a morning game there. I already know your answers here before I even ask you, but I mean, it's not just about the day itself. Obviously, the game is the focal point, but I mean, I don't think people really appreciate how big a deal this is for Dublin. You have upwards of 30,000 international fans coming to the city this weekend. There's activities starting on Thursday, activations, fan events, pubs. I mean, the buy-in from the entire country for this game has been fantastic. It's going to be such a momentous occasion. Like Gaelic Gridiron, myself and Twist are going to be out in the city centre from Thursday and Friday all weekend until the final whistle. I mean, we're going to be absolutely wrecked, but it's going to be absolutely great crack. Twist, I'll go to you first, because obviously we're Steelers fans, right? The Steelers haven't, as Connor said, have not been lighting it up really at all. Defense obviously kind of woke up a little bit last night, had those turnovers and takeaways, and stepped up a little bit. Still some things to fix. Obviously our secondary's banged up. Some of our linebackers are banged up, but I think personally the offense is going to have to do a hell of a lot more than 150 odd passing yards, and less. I mean, we still haven't broken 100 yards rushing this season in any game. So I think it's the offense has to step up against the Vikings this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, like the defense finally looks like it's starting to find its groove. That could all fall apart with jet lag, the way it did in 2013 in London,
Don't remind me, please. Don't remind me about that game.
Where the team just like even Roethlisberger said he would have liked to have been there a day earlier to acclimatize, but they're doing the same schedule, flying in on Friday morning and going straight to practice, and then away they go. So as the same, they're following the same schedule from back then. So don't know whether that's going to help or hinder them. Offense is struggling. Like there are some flashes, but I don't know. I don't have a good feeling as a Steelers fan about this game on Sunday. The way they've it's 3 games in. Yes, we're 2-1, but there hasn't been a convincing consistent. It's not even convincing scoring, but just overall consistency on all 3 sides of the ball. Like I think the most consistent player. I know the most consistent player on our team has been Chris Boswell.
Mm-hmm. No surprise there.
Your most consistent player on your team, you kind of have to worry about both sides of the ball. If we can finally use the highest paid defense in the NFL to stop the run the way it was built to do, then yeah, maybe we might see a bit of a closer game. But yeah, I don't have a good feeling. It might be a miserable day for Steelers fans in Dublin.
Hopefully the sun's shining though.
that might not be true either.
That would be nice. Connor, obviously, I mean, Vikings kind of are on the up after the game against the Bengals. Carson Wentz slinging it. You have all your weapons, more or less. Your defense is playing lights out. You have to fancy the Vikings' chances in this one.
Yeah, I definitely fancy their chances. I think you've been very pessimistic when
that's just on brand for me and Twist. Though we're always pessimistic or realistic about the Steelers.
Yeah, I mean, and that's great, but the Steelers, this defense, it hasn't looked as good as it should look, and it hasn't. But you've been spoiled with great defense for years in Pittsburgh, right?
That's fair.
And as a quarterback, if you score 21 points, if you get more than 20 points in a game in the NFL, you would expect to win that game. Like as a defense, that's kind of your benchmark. If we could hold them to less than 20, then it's on the offense to get 21 and win the game. We've done our job, sort of thing. And that's what Pittsburgh did against New England this week, and it was enough. And yeah, sure, they had to turn the ball over 5 times to get it done, but they managed to get it done because it's Pittsburgh and their defense is great. You made the reference about hopefully the sun shines. Hopefully it does, but it probably won't, realistically. So it may well be wet, like the college game was in Dublin, and it may turn into a slugfest. And if it does, I think that I would fancy Pittsburgh in that situation more so than Minnesota, just because Minnesota's defense really tees off on teams that get into certain passing downs. But if it's a real run-heavy game, I would fancy Pittsburgh because Brian Flores doesn't get to be as exotic with his looks as he would like to be.
He's done a fantastic job. I mean, I'm still raging that we missed out on bringing Brian Flores in as our defensive coordinator.
I mean, he's the best coordinator in the NFL, offense or defense, in my opinion. That was an absolute steal to bring him in, and he's done a fantastic job. So hopefully the sun shines in Dublin.
And then once we've had our game in Dublin, we'll all be heading into town afterwards to find some pub showing Red Zone, or hopefully even showing the Ravens and Chiefs, because this is going to be a great game. 9:25 Irish time. Chiefs coming off their first victory of the season. Ravens possibly coming off a big win against the Lions. Two AFC title contenders really in this one. I mean, along with the Bills, I mean, those 3 teams are always going to be in the mix for the AFC North crown. For the AFC crown. Twist, I started with you last time, so I'll keep this the same consistency. Chiefs or Ravens, how do you see this one playing out next Sunday evening?
I'm going to give it to the Ravens. There's something wrong in Kansas City.
Well, you saw Travis Kelce being for the second week in a row having a rip at his coach, and Andy Reid having to give him a bump on the shoulder. I mean, Travis Kelce's a big man. You don't do that without thinking about it first.
Well, that's what I was alluding to. Like, once again, like, Kelce is screaming at people's faces. He's going after the head coach. Like, he only had like 3 catches for 4 yards. Like, in the first half, he had a terrible performance. You can't put that on Andy Reid. That's something to do with your offensive coordinator. That's something to do with your ability to get free and get elusive. But there's definitely something in the air in that Chiefs locker room that is causing friction. You know, I don't know. They don't look the same as they have the past couple of years. And unless they fix that, whether it's, you know, an intervention from like all the captains sitting down and like putting Kelce in his place.
Players only meeting.
You know, players only meeting. You know, if it gets bad enough, like you might even see him getting sit, but like that has to be physical altercation. I doubt that's going to happen by like this Sunday. But when you have that type of toxicity in the locker room, that spreads.
Yeah.
Like if you look at a team that loses consistently, that breeds like the you know, the air of we're losers. Like, you know, so if somebody is like losing their mind at their coach, like, well, this is acceptable, we can get away with this. Like, why should I listen to him? Why should I do what he's saying? That slowly seeps into the culture. So the Chiefs need to knock that on the head. If they can do that and Pat Mahomes can like find his like Mahomes magic again, because he's made some really questionable throws lately, like missing wide open people, like pump faking to Kelce 3 times before missing him. Like, don't know what's going on with him. So I'm going to give it to the Ravens, unless the Chiefs magically like turn it around, like in a week.
Connor, I think, and I said this before last week, I mean, myself and Twist said it, I think the Chiefs, the problem there is they're just not hungry. There's no hunger there anymore. They've had their fill of Super Bowls. They think they're untouchable now in the league. Whereas the Ravens and everyone else chasing them, and the Bills and the Ravens are starving for Super Bowls. And I think that hunger for success gives you the edge you need. And I just thought, I think the Chiefs have lost their edge. Like, you can do all the yelling and shouting you want. We've seen Travis Kelce lose his shit now twice in a row, consecutive weeks. I think he's angry at himself and angry at the organization because he's off doing adverts and he's off doing podcasts and his focus is away from the field. He's dating, obviously, Taylor Swift. And obviously, I'm not blaming her for the Chiefs' kind of recent slackness. God forbid they go after me on social media.
Taylor Swift, man.
But I could. What are your thoughts? Do you think it's just they've lost that kind of, you know, the edge, or what's going on in Kansas City?
What was Kansas City's schedule to start the season?
It's a very good question. Twist is my schedule guy.
It was the Chargers in Sao Paulo.
It was.
Yeah.
Followed by the reigning Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles at Arrowhead. Followed by the Giants at MetLife. 1 and 2 out of that isn't so bad. It's looked ugly in all of them, but 1 and 2 isn't so bad. If they go and beat Baltimore now this week, suddenly they're 2 and 2 and they've taken down Baltimore. That's not a bad position to be in at all, in relative terms. They do have Baltimore's number over the years, so that might play in. But Baltimore is a far better football team this year.
Yeah.
Far better football team than Kansas City from what they've shown at the moment. But Kansas City have their number, and God forbid the Lions win tonight against Baltimore. Both of those teams are 1 and 2 going into that game. So one of them is then 1 and 3 after it. That's serious stakes.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a great game.
Yeah.
Who do you fancy?
I'll take Baltimore.
Okay. We're high on Baltimore on this podcast, you know, for 2 Steelers fans and a Vikings fan. We're given the purple.
The Baker segment, the Baltimore segment, and the Daniel Jones segment now are 3 staples.
Yeah.
I think Twist's Super Bowl pick took a knock last night after the Cleveland Browns beat them with a last minute field goal.
Every Super Bowl could, like, eventual Super Bowl champion falls to a trap game. Like, everyone
they walked into the trap. They did not walk out of that trap.
Yeah. Well, like, if you look at the Chiefs' schedule coming up, like, they got the Ravens, obviously. Follow that, they've got the Jags, then the Lions, the Raiders, Commanders, and then the Bills. So realistically, if they can find their mojo back, they can win the majority of those after the Ravens games. The toughest one is obviously going to be the Bills and maybe the Commanders if Jaden Daniels is back. So I wouldn't say the sky is falling yet, but if they fall to Baltimore, you might want to look at see what's going on inside the organization.
It was a big win to beat the. I know it was only the Giants, but it was big that they didn't go 0-3.
Oh yeah, if they had a
That
loss,
But
was
there
to
was
the
plenty of people tipping them for an upset because of Russell Wilson's performance the week prior, and then he went and did what he did last night. So at least, I mean, I think if they lost to the Giants, the sky would have well and truly have been falling in. There would have been
Arrowhead would have been burned to the ground.
Gas, I love it. Lads, look, we're going to leave it there because the Traders is on in about 10 minutes, and if I miss that, my missus will kill me. And it's, you know, I had a hard time last night. I had Red Zone on the laptop while the Traders was on the main screen. So look, it's over on Tuesday. We can go back to normal service whenever resumed. Thank you both very much for your time. It's always a pleasure talking football with you boys. If you are listening or watching and you do see us around the city centre Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or our hungover heads on Monday morning, do say hello. Do follow us on social media. We're going to be putting out so much content over the next week. It's going to be absolutely insane. I cannot wait. Thank you all for subscribing. Enter our competition, by the way, before I get it, still open on social media. Head over to Gaelic Gridiron on Instagram and X to enter that. Thank you again to our sponsors, Print My Pint. They will be around the city somewhere in some venue. I'll find out and put that on social media. Lads, thank you again, and we will chat after the Dublin game.